Pharma oligarch Pfizer has assured Health Canada that their vaccine is safe and effective, not based on solid clinical trial results or proven efficacy, but simply because it has been widely administered to billions of people worldwide. A recent access to information disclosure seeking information on the contaminants found by independent scientists in Pfizer's novel modified RNA injection vials, ranging from undisclosed plasmids like the SV40 promoter and high levels of residual DNA, has revealed interesting communication between Health Canada and Pfizer. In the government documents, Pfizer repeats its marketing mantra, assuring Health Canada that their novel modified RNA injections are both safe and effective. Health Canada initially asked for additional data and/or information characterizing the size distribution of residual DNA fragments and intact circular plasmids found within their shots by December 1st, 2023. Pfizer responded with that information, but almost all relevant characterizations are redacted, except for this little tidbit. DS, which stands for drug substance, and DP, which stands for drug product, quality, safety, and efficacy have been demonstrated for more than 1 billion doses administered to individuals worldwide over the last 3 years. That's it. That's the science. A real-world mass injection rollout on almost the entire global population without adequate oversight to monitor safety, efficacy, and proper clinical trial controls. I would normally call this a massive experiment, except that even experiments come with those above-mentioned oversights, monitoring, observations, and controls in place to assess risks and outcomes, none of which were adequately applied in the case of the COVID injection rollout. Deanna McLeod, founder and head of Kaleidoscope Strategic, which is a medical research firm specializing in evidence-based guidelines and systemic reviews in cancer research, told me in 2022 that relying on declared claims like what Pfizer is assuring to Health Canada right here, rather than solid evidence-based data, represents a dangerously low standard of safety.
We're not even acknowledging that there could be any safety issues, so nobody's looking, right? We have an archaic surveillance system. It's a passive surveillance system. You know, Dr. Payne mentioned today that, you know, they're screening for side effects. So they're basically doctoring things on the inside. So we have absolutely no means of actually finding out. You know, we've also noticed that, you know, the mainstream media really isn't even acknowledging or reporting on any of this stuff. So we don't even have, like, you know, there's active surveillance is what you get in a randomized controlled trial. There's passive surveillance, which is you actually have a system that everybody knows about, and they're looking and they're monitoring, and they actually acknowledge that there's safety issues that they could then report. And then, you know, we advertise the fact that you should report your safety issues this way. You know, then you could have like this like tertiary thing, which is like, you know, the media getting a chance to report safety issues, but, you know, they've even been silenced. So this isn't an experiment at all. What this is, you know, reckless behavior on the behalf of our health officials. And I'm not 100% sure what's motivating them, but I know that in my business, you know, you basically start to look for financial conflicts of interest and different conflicts of interest whenever you see a pattern like this.
Now it's nearly 3 years later, and Health Canada still isn't listening to anyone but the company profiting massively from these products with waived liability. In fact, former BlackRock investment advisor Ed Dowd and insurance analyst Josh Sterling testified at Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson's COVID vaccine science roundtable in December 2022 that they were seeing an unprecedented 40% excess mortality rate following the rollout of these products, which directly contradicts Pfizer's safety claims here.
The bottom line is we saw 2020 pre-vaccine and 2021 and 22 post-vaccine. There was a mixed shift from 2020 to 21 of excess mortality from old to young. So in 2020, it was mostly old people. We also saw a mixed shift in disability starting to rise in May of 21. The excess mortality has shifted so much so that it's pretty phenomenal what you see here in the charts before you. This is not my data, this is the Society of Actuaries. In 2021, in ages 25 through 64, the employed people of our nation covered under group life, they experienced a 40% excess mortality. As quoted by a CEO of an insurance company, just a 10% increase in excess mortality is a 3 standard deviation event or a once in a 200-year flood, so 40 is off the charts. What's interesting about this is that the general overall population experienced 32% excess mortality. This group life policyholder subset is much healthier in general than the overall population.
You've asked us to show just the one chart that tells the entire story. This is that chart. The UK government, until this summer, was reporting a data series that showed the relative mortality rates for the vaccinated and unvaccinated by the number of doses of the vaccine. We've done what we think is really professional work with this, and we think it simplifies down to a conclusion that says that through the last available data set, the people in the UK who took the vaccine have a 26% higher mortality rate. The people who are under the age of 50 who took the vaccine now have a 49% higher mortality rate. And worst of all, the people who only took one dose of the vaccine have approximately 145% worse mortality rate.
While Health Canada relies solely on Pfizer's assurances, they are disregarding Moderna's patents on foreign DNA integration and expression, which clearly indicates the need for specific sensitivity testing for both these vaccines and the novel modified RNA platform, something Pfizer isn't appropriately testing for. It's time for the regulatory framework governing these novel injections to be reformed because it's entirely insufficient, and until that time, a moratorium on the distribution of these shots is long overdue. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you agree that a moratorium is necessary, then head on over to nomoreshots.ca. At that website, you can sign our petition, and you can also send a form email to our Federal Minister of Health, Mark Holland, calling on him to revoke market authorization for these shots. That's nomoreshots.ca.